Hey guys, again today we're going to be talking, centering on the core values, but talking through construction timeline and GC expectations overall. Okay, just to give you a little bit of insight into my world and the chaos that is construction and development. Okay, again I mentioned it a little bit yesterday, but near and dear to my heart, organized. My world falls apart if I'm not organized. Not only here, but at home. 4 kids, organization is key. Not there by any stretch of the imagination, but that is what I strive for each and every day. Make sure that get organized. Results oriented is a focus on the team. Obviously, we got to set dates, we got to hit dates. Not there on that front either, but we strive to do that more and more as we continue to line things out. Next slide. All right, again, construction overall general contractor expectations was the ask and the give. So first and foremost, just the development timeline. I got a pop quiz, and Michael, I believe, is the new sales, right? You're the newest. Okay, just general question, no pressure.
Sure.
Average time to develop a Dickies from FA to open.
If it's over 30 days, we're taking too long, right?
I love it.
Positive. 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months. Okay. It can be in that time frame, but a little tight, to be quite honest. Okay. So again, when we're just to level so that we're all on the same playing field, I'm going to go an overview so that if you have not seen what we're communicating out as part of our welcome package, that you're familiar with that. I'll dive into the GC bidding and awarding process, and then a little bit on the job performance while they're out in the field. So, all right. Has everybody seen this?
There it is.
Yes.
I see it now.
Okay. So this is the revamped little process that was put together to replace the phases and stages. I know that you guys have heard that several times, right? So the old phases and stages actually had FA to open and then open to grant. So that's been scrapped. So this has been revamped to go on a monthly or a 30-day snapshot. And we're still building out what each of those 30 days consists of. Okay, so to be able to communicate that to the OOs at the point of orientation. This goes out with additional details as part of our financing and communication to try and set the groundwork for the OOs. We anticipate, you'll see here, each one of these is a 30-day segment. So real estate up to 90 days. Jed, 90 days. We overlap that a little bit in our design world because we get started and kicked off at the LOI. Okay, so as soon as we have a site identified and there's an LOI in process, we're going to site survey. Obviously, the design process has to finish before we go into permitting. Permitting duration, 30 days?
Oh, we wish.
Yeah.
45 days?
I'd be good with 45 days too. Anybody else?
46.
Up to 90?
It depends on the area, right?
It does. It averages six to 8 weeks. Typically, you can get an expediter in there and shorten that up. That's additional fees, different costs for the OOs. Build it at 8 weeks so that we're within expectation and moving forward. From there, and we try and do a 3-prong. So this is kind of the deciding point for us, where we do a 3-prong stool. And hopefully the legs are tighter than the ones here. But on board, we had, when I first came on board, we had projects that were actually in construction, getting ready to finish, and funding was just closed. That's problematic for a lot of us. Okay? So trying to work within the team to drive a 3-prong stool of GC assigned, which is the bid, which starts after design, funding, and permit in hand before we start. That's in a perfect world. All right. Any questions on what's being communicated and kind of the expectation of 0 to 9 months?
That's close.
Yeah.
1 month.
I've heard 5 to 6 at times. So this is just this window. We can compress a little bit of it, but it's very difficult to say, hey, unless they come in with a site owned, already done, this real estate window is going to drive a couple extra months on. So we try our best to squash it, but next slide. All right, so GC bidding. I know you guys are all interested in this.
Can't wait.
I know, right? Woo! All right, so the GCs that we work with, we try and keep them on our pre-approved contractor list. Anybody know why?
Because we've worked with them before and they already know
Good.
how to build it, they can build it quickly, they know that we need pictures to
The
verify stuff.
expectations. Good, excellent. Any other?
Better price.
Sometimes, yes. Any other pluses of using the pre-approved?
Got all their insurance. Took the lines already.
True. How about from a negotiation perspective?
Economies
Any
of scale,
benefit?
volume
Well,
pricing.
yes. We always have that next carrot on the tree to smack them with, right? Okay, so when try not to give exceptions to use their own GCs because we lose that potential, right? A lot of these GCs come right in and they say, hey, I'm one and done. None of us like that. We want the multiple stores, right? Okay, so when we're bidding, we issue the 3 bidders as a minimum, okay? We try and include a local, regional, or a national vendor. Pluses and minuses to that scenario for anybody?
National may be tight on time, local may be less tight on time. They also know the trade area. They have local subcontractors that are there.
Local community contacts, we just had a sit down with one in Bozeman that's wanting to use its own GC local because it's a small community.
And also if you're in a union area,
So,
they'll want to have union members be doing the general contractor.
and so going back to Bozeman, again, negotiating it, telling the team, got to go back to them, small community, what if it goes wrong? What if it goes horribly wrong, which often happens when you're in a business scenario and you're friends and or a OO and a boyfriend GC. Can't go that way. Can't wait to see that blow up. All right. Anyway, we try and do the 3-1 so that we ensure that the compliance of what they're actually picking up or taking off the plans, that it's consistent across the board, that nobody's missing anything. Okay. We try and include local or regional because your travel per diem is going to be different. Some of those that are local won't have those additional general conditions. Bidding materials. Obviously, we need our construction drawings on what they're actually going to build. We're now doing CD clarifications of the construction drawing clarifications. You've all met William up there. Okay. Very detail oriented, but is catching a lot of things on the plans specifically from them that have come out that have caused us issues. Catching even some that are coming out now. But these are the clarifications that we want to make sure that the GC is aware of so that they either apply for an allowance associated with the bid or at least ask a question as to why is it a variance from the drawing. Lease abstract, we want to make sure that any landlord work that is supposed to be done is actually done. So when they arrive, hey, there's supposed to be a wall built here. There's no wall. What the hell? We want to make sure that that's done.
It's a little too apropos.
Hey, no AC, that's happened. Okay. And then the specs and installation guides associated with our established vendor base, like standards. Okay? Any questions so far? You guys are going to be experts and ready to go bid. All right, and for the bidding, we give them 2 weeks in which to review plans, visit the site, if it is an existing site, to roll up those numbers. Okay? Any questions on the actual bidding and what goes into it? All right, so what do we do with it? All this information. I'm a data guy. Gotta see it. All right, so we've established a side-by-side. So all the bids, as they're coming in, there's now an established leveling tool where all the bid numbers per division and line item are compared side-by-side. We do an average per line and an average deviation from that average on each of the lines to be able to start asking questions, right? You'll quickly be able to identify if they've missed something because of this tool. If you were just going bottom line, you don't know if it's all included or not, okay? We always send out and request a fair and final, meaning that we don't give specifics, or you're not supposed to give specifics around the bid and how they're performing, but you can give generalities around specific divisions like mechanical or electrical. Sharpen pencil, a little off, to make sure that they're coming in. And ultimately, we can use that as a negotiating tool, even with the lowest bidders, or lowest bidders. Additional negotiation, future business potential, so on and so forth. There's a lot that can go in there. After we have a targeted GC, one that we believe is going to perform to our expectations, deliver the store on time, we set up a recommendation call with the OO, make sure that they're in agreement, because they're ultimately contracting with them. Very important step, because there's OOs have gone around and just contracted directly. They've been called directly by the general contractors. I'm going to try and nip that in the bud. And then we issue award notice and decline notices. Very important from a professionalism perspective. You have established GCs that have worked with us time and time again. We want to make sure, just like you, that if they're not interested or not going to get the work, we want to make sure that we're closing the book and not having that potential out there, right? Just come first. All right.
Do you give them a reason if there's a decline?
No, they normally know that they either.
Too high.
Right now, I've yet to see an award come through that wasn't the lowest bid. Because what we end up doing, question by the way, when we send to the OOs for the sit down, all the bids go to them. So that they have clear visibility into all of the bids.
So the OO sees all three bids.
Yes.
Do we
Yes.
encourage them to call for references to other owners with FGC?
Ooh. Yes.
Second do it to us.
Yes. Great question. Anybody heard me talking about G&W? Russell? No?
Everyone's heard.
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on. No, all right.
When he starts
So-
talking that, we go, uh-huh.
Just fix it, Jim. Just fix it. All right. So there was a GC that was getting a lot of the work and not performing every job. I knew the completion date was not going to hit. We had OOs, specifically Brandon Garrick out in Colorado, that had a horrible experience. Yeah, right? So when Superstar, I'll just give Superstar Wendy Williams, our 1756, right? Was contacted directly, schmoozed, contacted, hey, I'm going to go with Russell G&W. I said, I highly encourage you to start calling around. Gave Brandon and a couple other people of recent stores to her. She called and she said, thank you very much. We'll go with Ari Crawford. So, yes, very, very important. And that's why the national, the approved vendor list is critical, because I ultimately want to have a scorecard for the GCs that the OOs can provide input on when we're done, so that we only keep GCs that are not only performing to our expectations, which I'll get to, but also providing that customer service at the store level. Okay, because they're actually out there on the ground with them. So.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes,
As part of that, then, do you also record whether they've completed on time in their timeframes? And if not, how far out they've gone past?
Getting there. Some of you have seen the pipeline report. There's specific milestones that have been established and record not only just a date and a shade for completion, but it has an original projection date based on our timelines, a revised date, which, if there's any revisions based on that site-specific construction requirement that may be outside of the typical 49 days, that we would do a revision at that point and be able to set that, and then we have an actual. So the variances on each of the stores, I'm beginning to measure. Yes, good question. Also helps me set the lead time between an SAP, lease, start of design, so on and so forth. So as we're going through, what we think the durations are, I'll actually be able to measure. Okay, any other questions? All right. Okay, so what do they do when they're on the ground other than build the store? They provide us, currently they provide us a schedule and timeline on what they're projected to build. Eventually that will be going the other way. We'll be setting the terms and conditions, and this is what you're going to build. That will help with the delivery expectations around our vendor base, Stanford, Sonoma, Central Equipment, so on and so forth. So that's kind of, they have to take and load daily photos to show progress. As we're not currently positioned for a lot of field visits, is our only way to be able to see what's happening, right? And we all know, you can say one thing and be in a different shoe, all right? Okay, so those pictures are 1,000 words. That goes through the process, and then near the end, we require them to review, complete, and submit what are called RTIs, or ready to install. Certain vendors require specific infrastructure to be set before they'll mobilize. POS, which I think we're going to be changing for Spark, will mitigate that one. Coke and Ecolab currently. Any questions so far? All right. Inspections, they not only schedule, manage, oversee the typical inspections to be able to sign off on a building. Okay. Final sign off or the NSO sign off, which is part of the phases and stages, and then final photos. We have a list of final photos that we want to see in store ready condition, okay. Along with all the other daily communication. Any questions on GC expectations?
Yeah, so what, because in our FTD in item 7, it gives an estimated cost, $298,000 to $398,000 total all in. And so we have to be careful in integrity on our end. Do you find that 298 to 398 to be an accurate representation, A, and B, what is the average GC bid?
Good question. Costs we're working on. We now have a cost matrix associated with each store where we're breaking out the final costs. Previously, everything was siloed, where the final costs were in the actual store file. So it was a roll up, but I wasn't able to slice and dice into the information without a lot of legwork. Okay, that's now being centralized into a database, so we'll be able to run numbers. As far as the GC cost, we average through 2018 for a traditional location at $104 a foot.
That's just good to know, because prospects, the smarter ones, start asking too smart questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if there's any questions on that, we can show that. I mean,
Our site approval meeting though that we have every week, we have those estimated costs, and then we put that into a pro forma and see what the store has to do in sales to break even. And normally, so just from going to that list, my head is anecdotal, but this is like dozens of stores. And so, yeah, it's always falling in that range. So the numbers are good. And then the break even on that is usually pretty low considering the rental rates that we're able to get the real estate. The break evens is like in the, $500,000 to $600,000 of sales a year. So, that's way below what our average is. So.
Yeah, and the range is the net investment. So Chad working on and Eric working for TI reduces that, right? Okay. Go ahead. All right. So again, any questions on any of those topics, subjects, concerns? Go ahead.
Can we just so for everybody in the room, it'd be very beneficial when they get asked about construction, because they do all the time. And so there's a lot of people who think that they can, if they stay local, they can find their own subs or GCs and do it cheaper than we can do it from Dallas, that thing. And so just as a quick, a 30-second elevator pitch, what would it be if you were going to say the benefits with going through Dickey's and Dickey's construction department specifically are?
Well, as far as the negotiating power, right? They're already familiar with the established vendor base. They already have those lines of communication. They already know how to install. So you're not constantly training people on how to build the Dickies. It's specific, right? So we want to make sure that we're utilizing that aspect of it.
Yeah, organization.
Mistakes. A big thing we always see is they get the grout, if it's a new GC, they get the grout line wrong, so then we have to go back when they can take down things like that. So all of that matters when you're having a GC that's already worked with us. We've already done all that legwork, so that's a big deal. Obviously with local, they're not gonna be on site every day. Most of them are still working. Do you really want to have that level of responsibility? Also, you're not the subject matter expert. We had Alex has bought, 3 reef straps, still didn't get it right. How do you screw that up? But it's because he tried to do it himself, and it probably cost him $30,000 extra. So anything like that, let us be the expert. That's what we do. So.
Yeah, and it's not only the education at the local level for installation, but the communication back here, all the GCs have established and known requirements for us. So not only is it gonna be a new experience for them, new experience for the owner, but new experience with Dickies as well. It's just, there's a lot of unknown variables that come into play, and it creates communication and confusion. So. Any other? All straightforward, right?
I mean, I think kind of this plays in what John was saying yesterday about kind of reference about how we talked about owner operators, sometimes they want to be told what to do. And so look, just to kind of take this and put this in perspective from the way that I see it, it's like when somebody in this company, somebody in this room comes to me and says, hey, Roland, look, unless you object, here's what I want to do. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's how it's going to cost. Basically, if you come up with this amount of money, you'll get this return, right? Or this is what I'm going to do, and this is the result that I'm going to get, okay? Like when somebody comes to me with that level of confidence, like that's what I want. I don't want to have to sit around all day and like think of things with people and ideas, and you know, I'm deprived of time in myself. I mean, I don't have enough time to get all the stuff done I want every single day. And I think we're all in that boat. And so I love to have people with whatever your job is in this company. I love to have people to come to me with confidence and say, here's what needs to happen, and I'm going to make it happen, okay? Just want you to know there's nothing you need to do, but I'm going to do this, okay? Or this is different than what you said, but this is what needs to happen. And so, you know, or I love this too. I know we didn't talk about this, but this was the right thing, so I just went ahead and took care of it. It's already done, but I'm just letting you know, okay? You know, when somebody says that to me, it's like, okay, fine.
You know how many times I ask for forgiveness instead of permission?
Yes.
Too many, a little.
Kind of like Babe Ruth, he was the home run king, but he's also the strikeout. But anyway, so it's really no difference. I mean, it's not really of like the whole power dynamic of like, you know, what Troy showed us in like the TED talk and his talk. It's not like that. It's like, you know, it's just like, it's confidence. It's just confidence. You have confidence in this person. Do they inspire confidence? If they report to you, if they're going to sign a franchise agreement with you, it's confidence. It's all about confidence. There's a book out there called The Confidence Game that I would recommend reading. I read it a long time ago. And it's just about inspiring confidence. If somebody has confidence in you, that you can really take and you can do whatever you want. You can take that person on the journey that you want them to go on. And so with this is a big piece of this. This is them building their restaurant. And when they think, God, I don't know if they can really add value because I could find all this local stuff myself. You don't need to be the expert in construction. You know what you got to be, though? You got to be, Jared needs to be the expert in construction. He is. But what you do need to be is an expert in storytelling. You need to be an expert in creating that narrative. You need to be an expert in painting that picture for the person. Let me tell you the horror stories that have happened, okay? Let me tell you about this store where they put a grease trap in 3 times. It cost this owner $50,000, or where they measured this wrong, or the mistakes that a new general contractor that's never built a Dickies. Sometimes you get a home builder that thinks they can extrapolate that to a restaurant that needs HVAC and plumbing, MEPs at a restaurant level, powered up to 400 amp panel. Like that horrible, or they'll say, hey, you want to stay local because I know the city, I know the inspectors, I can cut corners. Rarely does that ever materialize. So you can tell them those pitches. We have a tried and true list. We have a list. People, they've found the efficiencies, they've made the mistakes, not on you, they make good by them. We have an extra level of oversight, we can hold them accountable, just like in operations. It's like there's another level of oversight. Usually when a husband and wife come in, and quite often I see, the husband wants to do the deal, the wife is the decision maker, it's a classic deal. And so what the wife likes to hear is that there's another set of, some oversight that's gonna happen. And we're going to say, hey, yeah, if labor gets off or cost of goods gets off or sales drops or something like that, we're going to pick up the phone and we're going to call. Maybe you're on top of it. Maybe you're doing extra training or whatever, but that second set of eyes is going to be there. And that makes them feel better about their investment, right? And this is one of the most important things right here is obviously construction and them believing in us.
Yes, and I know you sent me an email earlier. I think, we're not perfect. We still have a long way to go, but I can tell you there's been some from the first round, like Joan Dahl, had a bad experience her first time through, wanted to go with her own GC. wasn't communicating. We finally were able to break in there. Now she's proactively talking with us now, right? Again, not perfect on all scenarios, but we're getting there. Brendan Powers, if any of you know that name, okay, right? 1610, we've had to sit down. Well, I don't want this to go like last time. Give us an opportunity, let us communicate, let us show you what improvements we've made within our development. He's now communicating this, at least the last I've heard, so. We're making some improvements, and, I think we're all on the same page that those multi-site operators that are going that direction, the voice, I want to make sure that they're communicating things are looking different at the POA conventions, right? Word of mouth inside the organization. So that it's easier for you next time.
So let's say something does happen and there's a situation arises. What is the crisis management on your side? What does it escalate? How does that go down?
Okay, great question. Historically, that's rested with Simone as far as the PM, with just the changes. I'm also in that loop, so anything that she's not able to address gets escalated to me. We will be reviewing crisis management to make sure that we have a solution in play.
And I mean, there's a lot of problems in construction. In a lot of ways, construction is Murphy's Law. But if you've got vendors that are beholden on us for future business and loyal to us, then if they do make a mistake, they'll make good by it. You get some local vendor that we have no leverage over, and they're screwed. But the most important thing is we rarely have crises, with construction. We don't have crises very often. If there is a crisis, it's with some vendor that we don't control, because we gave an exception, somebody went local.
We're also working a lot of the distractions, like John mentioned early on, the whirlwind of the day, the things that take away time from our overall execution is the repair maintenance, right? We need to make sure that we're getting a system in play. We'll be presenting this event very shortly to leadership, but keeping the brand compliant from a fully illuminated signage position, for example. How do we do that today? How are we ensuring that the owner-operators are maintaining their stores in the proper fashion, that we're not getting a bad view on the street, right? There's things like milk routes, right? People will just drive around, take pictures of the buildings, the signage, make sure that it's fully illuminated. If not, send it in, report it in, and that allows us to be able to start dinging the OOs on, hey, I'm not only getting reports that you were closed at 8, you're supposed to be open until 9, but your sign isn't on, as early as 7. Okay, so there's things that we're trying to attack on that side as well. Any other questions? Okay. If you think of anything, I'm always available. Just swing on up. I'm up on the stage now.
Very nice.
Yes.
Good job, good job.